Well, I got a hold of that pole and I went after her. And I cornered her and I took a swing with that pole and broke it across her back and then ran out. And by the time I got home, the truant officer was waiting for me. All the loud talking, dashiki wearing, big hair guys, they were not on the buses that went south to Selma.
Thanks for clicking through. Today's episode is one of three. And if I were to describe this episode, I'd say it a little like Drake. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Or started from the bottom, now we're boulé. Because I'm going to tell you about the story of Judge Clyde W. Waite. He was so poor growing up that he wore secondhand women's clothing to high school. Now that's some poverty. I think this interview may inspire you. I know it inspired me, and I hope you enjoy it. This is On the Q-Tip, and I'm your host, Q.
Myself seeing everyone around me as being better off. I lived in what I would consider a poverty-stricken community, but that those others in similar circumstances all seemed to be better off than me. So I would say that I saw myself as being the poorest of the poor.
How did that make you feel at that time?
It made me angry because I thought it was so unfair, but I took on the challenge to try to make it, and so I never felt that I was part of any real community, black, white, or in between. I think I felt like I was alone from a very, very young age. So,
did you respond to that differently than your siblings?
I think I did, because I didn't even feel that close to my siblings. I felt alone from, I'd say, 5 or 6 years old. I was feeling completely isolated. I would go out and just keep to myself. I didn't have friends. I didn't feel really accepted by my own family. I felt strange. I felt like I was just a different sort. So by 7 or 8 years old, I was out hustling. I was out mowing lawns, shoveling sidewalks. I found a job with this elderly white lady who was living alone. I would shovel coal into her basement. Her house was heated by a coal furnace. I would have to go up to her house a couple of times a day to put the coal in the furnace during the winter. During the summer, I would do the lawn and with one of those rotary lawnmowers, and I would cut the grass between the flat sidewalk stones with a pair of scissors. And I did that for up until I was about, I would say, 13. I worked for her for about 5 or 6 years. And so I was always there, and when I wasn't working or in school, I would spend time at the library. On weekends, I would be the only person in the library, Friday nights. So kept to myself. It was just an outlet. It was something to do. I was a pretty isolated, angry person. I do recall an incident that caused me to strike out at the nearest person to me. It was a teacher. I think I was in 3rd grade, so I was about 9 years old at that point. And I never smiled, never laughed. and this teacher was trying to get me to lighten up a little bit, and she would come over and try to draw me into conversation, and I didn't want to talk because I would be a kid who would just sit there at school. And I felt that she was bothering me. And in that particular grade school, you had the windows that would, the double hung windows that you would have a big pole with a hook on it to raise the windows up. Well, I got a hold of that pole and I went after her. And I cornered her and I took a swing with that pole and broke it across her back and then ran out. And by the time I got home, the truant officer was waiting for me. And in those days, corporal punishment was not outlawed. And I got a well-deserved beating. So that was emblematic of the way I handled things. I wanted to be alone. I didn't want to be with anyone. I didn't want to be around anyone. I just wanted to be left alone. I was an angry person. I thought it was unfair. I thought the world was against me. I didn't think my family thought much of me. I didn't think anyone thought much of me, and I didn't think much of myself. I just wanted to sort of get through the day and get ready for the next day. I was fairly smart in terms of reading and writing and, all the functional things. I just was someone that I didn't see any reason to excel. I would just get by. The work wasn't difficult for me, so I did whatever was necessary. In high school, I was placed in a vocational track. I was not considered appropriate for woodshop or metalworking. So I was placed in the commercial course. So I was the only boy in most of my classes, taking typing, shorthand, home economics, how to cook and take care of the kitchen. In those days, that's where the girls were placed. And I, not having any other place to go, that's where they placed me. By high school, I was a little more serious, and I recognized that my family being as poor as it was, that I had a responsibility to try to help. So I did get other jobs after working for the lady that I did the lawns for. I took a job as a pin setter in a bowling alley, and I was back in the pits where people would bowl and where you would set up the pins, and there were a lot of older men back there who befriended me and started counseling me about the things that I should try to do to make life better for myself. Many of them were retired people. They didn't have any other job to do, and they would work in the bowling alley at nights like I did. And I saw the opportunity to better myself by getting a job as a secretary. So I was one of the better students in the typing class. I had very few distractions, had no interest in the girls or anything. They had no interest in me. I was just there. So I was a pretty good typist. I could take shorthand better than most. And our congressman in the area brought in recruiters to test some of the high school students for jobs in the federal government. And I did pass the testing that they did at the school that gave me the right to go to Washington, take another test there at whatever department or agency was available. And for me, it was the Library of Congress. 24 hours after graduation from high school, I got a train, got myself a brand new white shirt that was gifted to me by one of my relatives. Had myself a nice tie. Got on the train through the night, and by morning I was at Union Station in Washington. Put my suitcase that was pretty much a box tied shut with a rope that I put in one of the lockers. Walked a few blocks up to the Library of Congress, took the test that morning, got hired on the spot, started working that day. At quitting time, I went back to Union Station, got my suitcase, and then started walking around town looking for a place to stay that night. I had almost $50 in my pocket, and I thought I was rich. People had donated some money so that I could have enough to take care of myself for that first couple of weeks. I saw a room for rent sign in a window, and I went in and found this very, very nice woman, black woman, who didn't have a room available at that time, but said that the neighbor next door had several boys who were renting a place to stay. There were about 6 or 7 of us in one room in cots in the basement. And so I stayed there for several weeks, and a room opened up in the house next door. The lady who took me and got me that room on a cot in the basement. And so I then moved in with that rooming house. That's where I stayed for a few months until I got enough money to go looking for an apartment. So during those few months, I would be walking around town. I didn't know anyone, so I was walking around. And I walked up on Georgia Avenue in Washington, and I think it was maybe the street adjacent to Georgia Avenue. And I see this building. It was about a 6-story building, and almost every window was filled with a black girl, shouting to people who were walking by. And I said, oh my God, I found nirvana. I have arrived. So I went in to apply for an apartment. I had already earned a couple of weeks' salary, and I had a few bucks now. I thought I was rich, actually. So I went in to apply for an apartment, and I asked the lady at the desk if I could get an application to get an apartment there. And she told me that this was the girls' dorm. And I thought that was the name of the building. So I said, well, can I get that application? She says, well, this is Howard University, and this is the girls' dormitory. You have to be a student here. And I said, oh, well, I guess I won't be able to be a resident here. But within a week, I submitted an application to go to Howard University. I applied, and I'd only been in that city for a couple of months. I applied. I, of course, was turned down. I didn't have any academic courses at all in high school. And so I went in to see the admissions officer to find out why I was turned down. She said, well, you just don't have the credentials. She says, I would suggest perhaps that you go to night school and get some courses. And she named the kinds of courses that I should take. And I decided that I was going to do that. So I was working during the day at the Library of Congress as a secretary, and I was going to night high school at night. So after that first year, I went back and applied again. And I was turned down again and told that I still didn't have enough academic courses. So I went back to night school another year. Came back, applied, was turned down again. Went back to night school. Came in, I submitted my third application in person. And the admissions officer said, are you back here again? She didn't see me. Are you here again? And she said, I just don't think that you can make it here. And I said, well, and by then, by the way, I wasn't interested in the girls any longer. I wanted to get a higher education. She said to me, now I'm going to take a chance on you. I don't think you're going to make it here, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to fail. I'm going to recommend that you be admitted on probation for the first semester. And if you can maintain a C average, we'll let you come back for the second semester. So I said, fair enough. The folks at the Library of Congress said, you should try to do this. And by the way, all of the secretaries in the copyright office is where I was. I was the only male employee. And I was being mothered by the lady at the rooming house. I had a female boss and the assistant boss, and they were all pulling for me. They said that they would hold my job open for me and give me the opportunity to go to live on campus, to do whatever was necessary to see if I could make it. So I got through that first semester. I got my C average. So now I get to the second semester. Now I get B averages. So I went back to the Library of Congress, continued working because I didn't have enough money for that second year, but I was working at the library with a split schedule. So I would be at the Library of Congress for 2 hours. I would drive back to Howard, have my classes there, go back to the library, work for the afternoon, come back to Howard, back and forth like that. I did that for a year. Now I'm making A's and some B's, but mostly A's. I'm thinking that my third year, I'm thinking that maybe Howard wasn't tough enough for me. How could I be making A's and B's someone who shouldn't have been there in the first place? So I spoke to the people at the Library of Congress. I told them that I wanted to transfer to another school, leave Washington. So I went to upstate New York to a small white college, but in St. Lawrence University in Canton, New York, right up on the Canadian border, where I was the only black student in the university. All 4 years, I was it. So no distractions. I made straight A's. And that was for just the first semester. I decided I'm up here and there's no one that looks like me. I'm going back to Howard. So I went back to Howard And at that point, I met up with, it was mid 60s when all this was going on, and all the rioting and all this civil rights demonstrations and all that. And I met up with Stokely Carmichael, who was the chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Civil Rights Group. I met up with H. Rap Brown, who was the chairman or leader of the Black Panthers. At that point, we had the Voting Rights Act was passed. And I decided, rather than being a protester that was going on at the school, that I would go to Selma to be a voter registration person and freedom riding and all that. So I went to Selma. I wasn't there that long. I was only there for about a month. But and I had some real adventures there. But the students at St. Lawrence, they were very nice to me. I had no social problems there at all. I could function well. The classwork, I had no distractions. I could handle the work. But when I got back to Howard, there were all the Black Power, the dashikis, the big hair, the 50 caliber necklaces and the guys, and and I'm still the outsider. I've been from beginning of time, I was the outsider, and I continue to be that. And I just felt that it was necessary for me. Now I'm an established student, I'm doing well for myself, that I owed some people. I owed the people at the Library of Congress. I owed my landlady. I owed that admissions officer. I saw injustices all over the place. Washington was, it was just awash with people who were being maltreated in the community. And what I learned being on Capitol Hill with all the marches, the Martin Luther King March in 1963, and all of the things that were going on, the disputes between the Nation of Islam and sort of colliding with the civil rights work of Martin Luther King. I mean, there were just many instances of injustice as far as I could see as a young person. So I wanted to do my part. And I didn't think that being on campus without doing something significant, that I wasn't doing enough. When I went to Selma, Stokely Carmichael was there when we were going out to Lowndes County, which is in a county adjacent to, I think it's Dallas County, where Selma was. I almost got killed down there. And I was one of the students I was a very conservative student, the way I dressed. I mean, with the dashikis and the big hair, that wasn't me. I was older than many of the other students anyway, because it took me a couple of years before I got in. But I'm a V-neck sweater, penny loafers, just almost Ivy League in appearance. But all the loud talking, dashiki wearing, big hair guys, they were not on the buses that went south to Selma. And Carmichael and Rap Brown were recruiting us to go down there and try to help register voters. And I was willing to take that risk. So on that bus, was mostly conservative students. It wasn't the firebrands that were around. And when we arrived in Selma, we were met. I believe the sheriff's name was Clark. He was known for being a brutal and vicious kind of person. We were told that we should not have sharpened pencils with us because that would be counted as a deadly weapon. I don't know that I was thinking. I knew I had to do something. I knew that we were taking a big risk. I knew that a couple of civil rights workers had been killed down there. I knew we were walking into a situation, but I knew we had a job that needed doing. And when we got off of that bus, I could see his face to this day. As we were walking down the aisle of the bus and walking down the steps, he was at the bottom of the steps, and he was just looking, just glaring at us, and there were other white people around, and it was a scary situation.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please hit like and subscribe. Hype this video if you can. And in the second episode, it gets even crazier when that sheriff tries to kill the judge. Allegedly, but you'll see what happens. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on the Q-Tip.